G.I. Griffin here for another Advisor Insight lecture. Today, we're talking about how the strategic consequences of short-term thinking can impact your life or your business. I want to touch on essentially why individuals and like businesses, organizations, or even societies, why they consistently sacrifice long-term outcomes for short-term rewards and some of those strategic hidden costs that would come from that. So first up, almost every major failure begins with a series of short-term decisions. At some point, someone said, hey, you know what? This seems like a good idea. And you know what? It wasn't. I get it. Humans, they naturally prioritize immediate rewards, right, over future outcomes. They're going to try to think in the moment, right? Short-term thinking, it often feels rational in that moment. And so in that moment, they're like, this feels right, so let's go with it. But they haven't checked first, second, and third order effects or thinking to figure out, is this going to have a negative impact later on down the line, right? And that is critical when you're planning your life or taking a strategic planning approach to your business or your brand. It's not just about what are we going to do right now, because you can do that, but then what's next? Okay, how do you deal with ramifications of that? Oh no, the situation or the environment changed. How do you adapt to that? Right? These are things that you need to constantly be thinking about ahead of time and planning for. And I get how people could fall into this, especially today, because modern society, it amplifies that, right? It rewards short-term thinking, short-term plays. Get it now, me, all about me. It rewards that, right? Providing incentives that encourage people to follow or to do that. But that doesn't stop the consequences from happening. So let's touch on some of the actual patterns that we'll see with that, right? So individuals, they usually will choose comfort over discipline. You'll see it every day, whether it's dealing with, if it could be weight issues, it could be their goals in business, it could be habits that they have, cleaning up, it could be anything, right? A lot of times the easiest action is just to say, you know what, I don't feel like doing it. But do you get the result that you want? No. It does require you to tolerate some discomfort for a second and have some discipline in order to actually achieve your goals. That's necessary. The pattern also shows up within business when they optimize for quarterly results over long-term viability. They sacrifice trust and customer service for immediate revenue. You see this every day. Like, why would the company make that decision? Oh, because they're just trying to make their quarterly statement, right? So those are short-term wins. The difference is that they have a couple million to a couple $1 billion to offset those consequences. The average person does not. So you have to be much more wise in your decisions and your actions. Leaders, they also focus on popularity rather than the difficult decisions that they're there for. Your job is to make difficult decisions, to figure it out, have the intelligence for that, have the courage to make the hard decisions that other people either cannot do or will not do. That is your purpose there as a leader. If you're only focusing on posting some content, getting it to where people like and subscribe to you or whatever, that's all you're doing. You're not leading, right? You're just gaining attention. It's about you. Being a leader means that it's not about you. It's about the people that you're leading. And by focusing on popularity instead of those decisions that you need to make, you're doing them a disservice. So that's a lot of short-term wins for that potential person, but at the expense of long-term losses for the people that they're leading. And you're seeing that big time today with a lot of our leaders. Also, society, it rewards speed. Like faster, everything speeding up, convenience. Instant gratification. I want it now. It does reward that today. Previously, not as much, but today, definitely. And so you see a lot of things being geared towards that, especially one of the hot topics that everyone they feel some kind of way about, AI, right? Do it faster, make it easier. Give me what I want quickly, right? That creates big problems later on down the line, because not only does the person not have the ability to slow down, have patience, tolerate the discomfort, work towards what they need, and accept that they may not get something immediately. So that has tons of consequences for the individual, but then also within the thing that they're applying it to. It may not be as well thought out. It may not be as good or a solid strategy or actually provide results. You just wanted it fast, easy, and give it to me now. Right? So you have to make sure that you're looking at that and accounting for that as you're approaching these decisions and actions that you need to take. Another pattern: problems are often treated at the symptom level, like not the root cause. And I see this a lot. And this really has to do with your skill set. Some people have a particular ability in which case they can see the root cause or the why behind something, and a way to fix it, like once and for all. Not kind of fix it here, fix it there, just fix it one time, it's done. Certain people have that ability. So the easiest way that a lot of people won't like, but is just to go ahead and find that person, have them fix that. Have them do their thing, play their part. That's their role, right? Because just treating the symptoms, you're kicking the can down the road again and again and again, and constantly chasing this problem and wasting your energy and your time and your patience, and to the point where you feel burnt out and you're like, you know what? No more. I can't deal with this anymore. And then you just leave it. That is not an effective strategy. Instead, either handle it how you need to handle it, find that root cause, focus on that, take the time to find a root cause. It might take more time to do that than it does to solve the problem, to be honest. Or find someone whose ability is specialized within that. Usually going to be strategy based. Right? And one of the last patterns I want to touch on is that future consequences are consistently discounted or ignored. This one gets me, where people kind of shrug it off. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, it'll be fine. Oh, things will work out. Oh, you got to just stay in the moment. Look, if you're trying to achieve a goal, whether personally or within business, you need to account for these future consequences. Right? Understand that they have real impacts for things, either for you or for others, and they need to be accounted for. That's why when you do a SWOT analysis, you're trying to figure out, you got your strengths, your opportunities, but also your threats. What are the potential threats within my environment or my organization that I need to keep an eye out for? Because these are variables when you're taking a strategic approach for anything, you're planning a strategy. These are variables that you need to plan for. People, they'll make a strategic plan and they're wondering, like, why didn't it work out? Well, you didn't account for all these variables within your environment. You just said, hey, this is what we're going to do. It should work. We hope. Well, it doesn't work that way, especially not in reality. You got to plan for those unforeseen things and the potential consequences. Speaking of consequences, financial instability, right? I put this one first because money is going to touch on a thing that everyone understands, right? Everyone wakes up, they go to work, they try to get money so they can pay for things that they need and live. So finance is one of the big ones that people will clearly understand. You take a financial hit. You didn't make the money you're supposed to make for your business, to pay your staff, pay your expenses, keep the lights on so you can keep making money so you can pay your bills. You didn't do what you needed to do at work, and now there's a consequence that you either got fired or you lost some type of business, which then downgraded your ability to make money. Right? So on a personal level, poor health and weakened relationships, right? Because of these short-term decisions that you made early on in life, now you're having long-term health implications for that, in which case you're struggling. Or you didn't manage or foster those relationships, or just kind of threw them to the side, and now you don't have those. You don't have those people to support you. They're not there to help lift you up when you need it. On a business level, you can have a decline in organizational culture and trust. right? To the point, and we just saw that, right? We just saw that with Meta and laying off all those people, right? And they're saying, yeah, our culture and morale is down. Well, yeah, of course it's down. That was a short-term move. Get rid of these people. Okay, cool, fine on the financial side, whatever, whatnot. But now no one wants to work their best because they don't care anymore, because they lost hope in that culture, and that trust has been lost. That's a long-term implication. Another consequence is innovation basically being held up, where you're not making the moves to innovate and change things at the pace that you need to do so. You're stagnating, right? That does have big implications down the line when everyone else is innovating and you're not, because then suddenly you're not on top anymore. And we see this a lot with tons of manufacturers that were on top doing their thing, and they got passed by, whether that's Microsoft and then get passed by Apple, right? Or Intel and get passed by AMD. You have to be on top of that innovation and look towards that long-term viability, because otherwise you increase fragility within your systems and you're not able to uphold yourself within the infrastructure that you have. Another consequence, small compromises, they eventually turn into major problems. So it's what I mentioned before, like just kind of ignoring it or discounting something like, oh, it's not a big deal. It'll be fine. And then, the whole thing's on fire later on. You have to make sure that you're taking care of these things at the time when you need to take care of them. Be an adult, be a mature adult. This is something I don't want to deal with. I don't want to look at, but I have to take care of it. So I'm going to take care of it right now before it becomes a bigger problem later. Right? Because the reality is that when you're taking these short-term plays and short-term thinking, these temporary gains often create long-term losses. It's not the strategic way to play something. It gets you something now, that instant gratification, convenience, and speed that we mentioned, but at the expense of you winning the war later on down the line, right? Not just the battle. So let's talk about some of the solutions. One of the best ways to set you up for long-term success is to learn how to either approach or think within the big picture, right? And evaluate decisions through long-term consequences. When you're dealing with someone who is building you a strategy or doing some type of strategic plan or thinking, this is what they're doing, right? So this is something I have to do within my own work. All right, these are the variables. This is the entity or the person or whatever it is. This is where they want to go. This is what's in between there, the potential threats, opportunities, wins, whatever. All right, how do we get there in the most efficient and effective way? And part of that has to do with saying, hey, zoom out for a second. Where are all the threats and all the consequences that can come out of these different options that we have? All right. And I understand it's a complex thing. That's why I said, like, it's not everyone can think in that way. Some people, like I'm much better with the big picture things, right? Some other people are really, really good with the details. So when I pair up with someone who is very good with details and I just do my big picture thing, we do amazing things. It's great. Great working environment. We're both having a great time and we achieve the goal, right? That's why I'm a big fan of people, and people don't like it when I say it, but I'm going to say it anyways, playing their role. If your role is to do the details, do that and do it well. If your role is the big picture and strategizing, do that and do it well. Because doing things that are outside of your role or outside of who you are has long-term consequences as well. I would know, but we'll save that for a whole other lecture. Another one, prioritize long-term wins over the immediate rewards. And you do that by aligning like the incentives that you have, and you want to align them with desired long-term outcomes, meaning that set up a culture where those long-term outcomes actually reward either your staff or reward you. If it's easier and the reward is for do something that's instant gratification And short term, they're going to do that. But if the reward is, hey, you know what? If you finish this 3-mile run in this time, you get to have this thing, right? You're getting that reward for that long-term play. It'd be easier short term to say, I don't feel like doing it. But you know what? I really want that reward, that incentive at the end there. The outcome is that you're healthier, you ran the time, you feel good about yourself, and you got that reward. You have to set that up within an organization or within an actual person as well. Got to build that. Another portion to the solution is address the root causes instead of just the symptoms. You have to keep searching for that. Why did this happen? We didn't make money this month or this quarter. Okay, why? People didn't buy our stuff. Okay, yeah, that's obvious. Okay, why didn't they buy your stuff? They said that they couldn't afford it. Oh, okay, so they couldn't afford it, but they could previously. So that means what? It means that suddenly they didn't have as much money. Okay, why? There's changes in the economy. Okay, what does that mean? You have to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper until you get that root cause. And the root cause might be in that particular instance that because of leadership within that society or that country, that the economic situation has gone down and people don't have as much buying power to purchase things, in which case you either need to figure out some way to sell or go ahead and develop a product that is more affordable within the new reality you're playing in. So you see how going deeper in that allows you to come up with a solution to your actual problem, and one that would produce a real result, not just something that is surface level. Last part, I'll say for a solution, and everyone can do this, develop strategic patience. Try to start thinking in decades, not just days. Where am I going? Where's my career going? What about my family? What about my life? What about this passion project that I love? Where do I see myself in 10 years? Start thinking of that. Start making some plays for that. I love taking a multi-pronged approach, in which case I have some strategies or tactics for the short term. I have some tactics for the medium term, and I have some tactics for the long term. That way you're taking care of your whole situation from right now to the immediate future to the further future. That is a good strategy. So start thinking of that, having that patience and that perspective to say, okay, I got some things going on right now, but I also want to be planning for the future. So the future, it's shaped by the decisions that we make today. Many people, they'll overvalue the present and undervalue the future. These are the same people who have to deal with consequences all the time. Right? You need to be thinking of the future and the long-term outcomes that you're trying to shoot for. Reality ultimately rewards patience, discipline, and investment in actions that compound. Like this has been something that has been in existence for all of our history. From people who had the patience, they had the discipline to do what they needed to do, and they invested in themselves, whether that was monetarily within a business or within going out and getting the food that they needed if they're in a tribe. Those are the ones that won. Long-term thinking is one of the rarest competitive advantages that we have, especially today. In an environment where so many people are just thinking short-term, your ability to think long-term will determine, do you have that competitive advantage? Are you going to be ahead of the pack and everyone else in 5 years? And it's not just being ahead and winning just for the heck of it. No, it's saying when I reach that point, I have options. I get to decide how I want to do things. I have the freedom to do so. That's a perspective that a lot of people don't get with that. Having the competitive advantage means that you get to lead instead of having to follow someone else or someone else controlling your life. That's part of that long-term strategy and outcomes and understanding about those long-term consequences. You can create your own freedom. Because in a short-term world, The people who think long term, they'll separate themselves from everyone else, and they'll be the ones who get to decide how they live their lives. GI here on another Advisor Insight lecture. If you want more insights like this, go to gigriffin.com.